By the way, Miles and Sat, nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, good to meet you, Nas.
Yeah, keen as.
So we're live now. Welcome to the Bitcoin Weekly Roundtable, where we go over the news, chill, talk Bitcoin, and go over some questions from the audience at the end. So let's start with some news stories, get into those, what's been going on in the week, and then drop some questions, and we'll try to get to those at the end.
We have some new people. Do you think we should introduce them first, Josh?
Yeah. Everyone, if you want to go around, introduce yourself briefly, then we'll get started.
Sats, you first.
I'm Joey. I'm from Australia, and I've been making some content recently. So these guys have invited me on. So keen to talk with all of you, and should be good.
Miles.
Hey guys, yeah, I recently sold a sort of construction plumbing business, and I'm now all in on Bitcoin. And recently, because I'm so in now, I've got nothing else to do other than be in on Bitcoin for the time being. So I started making some content around bringing new people into Bitcoin, especially guys who are kind of in that middle, normal, regular, average guy income stream, trying to just orange pill those kind of guys and girls. But you know how it is.
Love it. Gen Z, do you want to, people know you, but go ahead and plug yourself.
Everyone knows Satoshi Guapamoto. Let's be real.
See, and Ralph.
Yo, just an average nurse out here trying to make it, so keep stacking, fams.
Perfect. And you guys all know me, Dan, Through the Cracks Productions, Bitcoin Reactions. Josh, lead us off, man. What's the first story for today?
Yeah, I mean, the first elephant in the room is obviously the price action we've seen today.
Let's go.
Let's see.
What are we at right now?
Sorry, be patient with me. All right, so we're currently at $109,743.
Yes. So
and yeah,
just before crashed below 110,000. This means that it's all over now, right? It's basically going to zero.
Yeah.
Just before recording.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is dead. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
You know what's insane? So last time we had an all-time high, it was 180 grand in Australia. But now that we've got an all-time high, it's only 170,000 because our dollar got stronger over that period of time. So if you actually sold at 180 and then bought back in, you would be in like some decent profit. So, and then it allows the next leg up again. So now it's interesting how the currencies work, but yeah.
So the Australian dollar is getting stronger. I had no idea. I thought it was a really weak one, but good for you guys.
It's kind of cooked, like it fluctuates so much. So like we were actually 1 for you guys for like 2011, 2012. And then when COVID came, it was like $1.50, $1.60. And then for a few weeks, it was like $1.70, $1.80. So we were getting cooked. And so I was watching like Bitcoin price nearly head towards 200K. I'm like, it's too expensive. And then now it's like sort of settling, but we'll see what happens.
That's crazy. And what's like the general attitude about Bitcoin in Australia? Do people care about it there like they do in the US?
Nah, we are lagging behind big time. So even things with like products and stuff. So we have no like shake pay or fold, nothing like that. And I use Strike, but there's limited features and things like that. So we're just a fair bit behind you guys with adoption and things, but I'm doing my best out here trying to orange pill people. But yeah, we'll see what happens because I hope we can start catching you.
And Miles, you're in UK, right?
I'm from the UK, but I'm actually in Borneo in Malaysia right now.
Wow.
Yeah, so time zones work really great for me actually because it's 8 a.m. here. I guess it's 8 at night for you guys there, or I don't know what time it is. It's close to Australia's time zone. But yeah, I'm like pretty in touch with UK vibes.
Well, what do they say in Malaysia about it? I really know very little about that area.
Well, it's quite interesting. In Malaysia, there's 0 capital gains on Bitcoin. Same as Singapore, which is like next door to Malaysia, which is amazing. And, when I left, I'm traveling with my kids and my wife around Asia at the moment. When we left, we weren't really thinking about where we would live. We thought we'd go back to the UK for sure. But when you start talking about no capital gains, it's like a big consideration, man, to think about relocating, especially if the price goes where we think it's going to go one day. You know, maybe not now. I'm not thinking of selling anything now, but at some point, it's definitely, in the UK, we're paying 32% on capital gains. So even right now, if you bought Bitcoin early, you send 100 grand and you're paying 32,000. You can live on that you can live like a king on that amount of money out in these places. So yeah, sorry, I missed your question, but yeah, in Malaysia and Singapore, there's quite a big crypto community in Singapore, particularly. And in Malaysia, I don't know if you know that guy, I've forgotten his name. He's often on podcasts where, is it Nomad Capital? That dude, the guy who does Nomad.
I'm familiar with
Yeah, he basically advises people about moving to different locations and not being a tax resident of one place and having multiple passports. I heard him on a podcast. I've listened to him a few times before, but then I just heard that he actually lives in Malaysia because of a bunch of the tax reasons, and he thinks it's a good place to live. So I think there must be like a reasonable crypto vibe around here, but I haven't connected with loads of people yet. But I'm back in the city in 2 weeks' time, and I've started messages and people on Orange Pill, so I have a good vibe around it then.
That's insane. I just can't believe that there's zero capital gains. I hope that we get that here. So does that make it easier for Bitcoin to be used as a everyday currency there? Like, can you go to Steak and Shake and not have to worry about capital gains on your hamburger?
No, I don't. There's not many places that you can use Bitcoin. Although where I got this T-shirt from, this anti-fiat Bitcoin club in Bali, in Indonesia, there's a lot of places that accept Bitcoin there. And in Indonesia, the rules are different around Bitcoin. It's actually not legal to use Bitcoin there, but people are accepting it because it's kind of unregulated, right?
Yeah, you can't stop it.
Yeah, there's a lot of places around there.
Any other thoughts on the price action today?
Oh, can I ask a question to everyone? Like, have you seen a lot of stuff when people say once we hit 110,000, a load of shorts are going to be liquidated and then it's all over, like prices in discovery? I never really am able to fully understand those kind of shouts, whether it's just people sort of engagement farming or what people think about that once we go over 110.
Yeah, I'm not in touch with the short community or with the short, I've never shorted anything, and I don't really pay attention to what other people are doing. It might be a little bit of engagement farming. There might be something to it. I'm really not sure, but I think we're going to be in constant price discovery for the next decade, probably. And, it'll be really interesting to see where Bitcoin goes. Does anyone have any ideas how high we're going to get, by the end of the month?
In terms of the shorts thing, typically what they're saying is like, there are certain shorts that are set at certain levels because they don't believe that the price will actually go there in that moment. And when it does, they're forced to cover, which means that they have to actually purchase the underlying, which is Bitcoin, which creates this domino cascading effect, which is why you get that hockey stick shaped up curve and the hockey stick shaped down curve, because that's when the longs get liquidated. So it's a whole thing. I don't think you should be doing any of that leverage stuff, especially when it comes to shorts and longs. I say that, which is a little bit, I guess it's hypocritical because I have MSTR, which is a leveraged product of Bitcoin, but like I don't have a liquidation, like a cover price. It's a little bit different. Long story short, where's the price going? No one can really tell, but I do think given the macro environment, right, global M2 is going up. They are looking to try to weaken the dollar. All right, we are looking at potential Fed rate cuts in June, right? The Japan bond market is getting destroyed right now, which is not good, right? That's going to have a global impact because if the yields are going up in Japan, they're essentially incentivized to try to dump U.S. treasuries, which is not really good for us. And we're going to be looking at maybe US dollar price of Bitcoin around like 100, I say 140K by July 4th. You know what I mean? It's going to be a massive run up. You might say, oh, it's impossible. No, it can't happen. Dude, we went from 60K to 100K in like a couple months. So from now to July 4th in price discovery, it's not too crazy to assume that we might get a 40% pump or something ridiculous like that. I believe it. We've had 40% months before. So between now and July 4th, we'll see where we at. But I say 140. I'm hoping for a bullish summer.
And honestly, like 140 that's still cheap. I'd still be buying at 140. So if you new out there and you think you late, hey man, like if you have a long-term horizon, 5-10 years, bro, keep stacking, man.
Cool. And then kind of going along with that, another kind of story we saw was the US Treasury bond 20-year yield went up above 5%. This signaled rising concerns over the US debt and economic stability. This is a good sign as a flight to Bitcoin could be imminent. Any thoughts on this story?
Again, it's like a macro environment shift. Do you know what I mean? Like, long story short, if you don't understand all of this like top down financial stuff, again, I didn't go to school for finance. I have a master's degree in finance from YouTube. Some people might say it's not good enough. I'm not trying to say I'm an expert, but the truth is when yields go up, when the percent that you get on a treasury goes up, it's because nobody wants to buy them. No one wants to hold them. Right. So they're trying to entice you to buy them. So at first they might say, oh, if you hold this for 20 years, we guarantee you a 2% gain. You know what I mean? Like over time. And then people are like, that kind of sucks, and I don't know if you're guaranteed to pay me because 20 years from now, you might default or some other currency might take over or Bitcoin might take over or you might collapse or either way, you're going to have to give me more than 2%, buddy. So when you see treasury yields spike up like that, that means that something's breaking in the global financial system. And part of it might just be trust, right? They're looking at trusting the dollar. They're trusting the treasury to pay them out. They're trusting that the United States credit rating will stay decent and that they won't default or whatever it might be. And they're just losing some of that trust, so they're like, man, I don't know if I want to hold this garbage. So the Fed and the Treasury and everyone has to try to incentivize holders to hold the Treasury by spiking the interest rate up like that. The market helps to set that interest rate. So nobody wants those garbage bonds. Bonds are literally negative. There's no reason to hold them, especially now that Bitcoin exists.
Related to this story as well, I don't know if you can find it, but there was a auction of bonds yesterday or the day before, and I think I saw that $50 billion of bonds were just bought up by the Fed. There was not enough demand to be wanting to buy all of those bonds right now, and that goes along with what Guap is saying, that there's just not enough demand out there right now to be buying all of those bonds. People don't want them as much, and I'm sure that this money is going to start switching over to Bitcoin and other Bitcoin related stocks as well. I'm with you, Guap. I think the price is going 140 easy. I heard Saifedean saying that he was thinking that it was going to go to that sort of price because there's also a bunch of bots trading the market right now, right? They're all looking at like the high of 108. When we hit 108 to 110, all those momentum buys start coming in, and it's almost like FOMO, but actually it's kind of programmed FOMO. There'll be people with their their buys ready at 110 saying, if Bitcoin hits 110, start buying, and that will just be automatic. And I think that will easily move the price up to 140. Easy. I think 140 is like conservative. I'm not one of those crazy bulls that think it's going to hit 1 million this cycle, but I think 140 is still cheap, I think, man. Like at the moment, compared to all the good positive news and all the buying that's going on, I think we're easily going to see that, particularly with the rate on bonds going up as well. I'm just I mean, I'd like to see those prices at a mil, but we'll have to wait a little bit longer for that, I think.
I love
That's
this
funny.
idea. Oh, sorry, Dave.
No, go ahead, Sats.
I was just gonna say, like, I love this idea that Bitcoin is looking less risky now. So all these people, eyes are moving away from like the bond market, even the stock market, and they're going, damn, it actually can take a huge hit. Things can change pretty fast. Bitcoin is holding, and like we see, anytime they announce the tariffs and things, Bitcoin actually held better than the stock market, held better than bonds, and actually went against and did its own thing. And I think all eyes now are looking at gold and Bitcoin as a good store of value. People are realizing it's actually less risky than initially thought. And I think these levels like 100K is going to be like the new support level. So even if we trickle down to 101 again, maybe high 90s, I don't think we're going to see an $80,000 Bitcoin again for at least till the end of the year and beyond. So this next 6 months is going to be, I think in my eyes, extremely bullish. And if I saw it at $80,000, of course I'd be buying, but I'd also be surprised and shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I would also be shocked at 80,000. I hope it doesn't, actually, I hope it does go down to 80,000 so I could swoop up and get some more. That's what I always say. I'm always rooting for it to crash, and it just never does. But yeah, no, I think what you were saying, Miles, earlier about how nobody wants to buy the bonds, no one wants to buy US bonds. I think that's really telling. I think people are beginning to realize that if you're buying US bonds, you are a sucker. And it used to be, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the old 60-40 ratio that was highly recommended again by like traditional financial analysts, where they said 60% of your money should be in stocks, 40% of your money should be in bonds. I think people are slowly beginning to realize that if you're having 40% of your money in bonds, you are getting swindled. You are losing big time. So
you're an idiot. You're an idiot.
Exactly. You're an idiot. And I don't think that most of the world is at this stage yet, but I think some of the world, definitely us and everyone listening in, they're beginning to realize that if you're not into Bitcoin at least a little bit, you're probably also an idiot, as Gen Z would say.
Yeah, I think the 60-40, anyone with common sense, 60-40 is dead. What we're going to slowly start to see is the 55-35 or 65-35-10, right? Where it's like 10% some sort of Bitcoin equity. Some of it might be just straight Bitcoin. It might be the ETF. It might be MSTR. It might be some sort of Bitcoin derivative. It's Bitcoin something. 10% of your portfolio is Bitcoin something. Over time, the Bitcoin's going to eat up those people's entire portfolio, right? But of course, they're not the brightest. They have their financial advisors who they pay exorbitant amounts of money. They're going to be like, oh, we need to rebalance. The Bitcoin side's getting too big. So they're going to sell that, and then they're going to keep doing that for a while until they realize, no matter how many times we keep selling the 10% of the Bitcoin portfolio, it keeps coming back and getting bigger than the rest of it. So maybe we should just transition to a 60-40 where it's 60% equity and then 40% Bitcoin. It's going to be this whole process where these guys try to figure this out, where, you can save them a step off the rip and just say 100% Bitcoin, you're good. But that's going to take a long time. So we're going to start with 1%, 5%, 10%, and then eventually we'll get there. But 60-40 bonds, for the most part, you're in the ground. Your 40% is already negative off the top. And then the 60%, maybe it's just the S&P 500. You're just keeping track with inflation. It's not very impressive. And if you're trying to gamble and click on, different other stuff and try to find that next Tesla or whatever, maybe you do it, but it's the same as trying to find a meme coin. You know what I'm saying? There's just no point. I like guaranteed money. So that's why I like to buy Bitcoin.
Yo, before we move on, let's hear some price targets from each of y'all, though, just for the fun of it. I know, Miles, you said 140. What about you, Josh?
It's tough to make. I mean, I just always gonna say there's no top because fiat has no bottom. I think.
Let's say by the end of the year,
End of the year.
for the end of the year.
I'll go 125. I'll keep it conservative.
You bearish as hell, man.
That's so bearish.
Bro,
Get him out.
really
Get him out.
Yo, get him out of here.
Oh my God.
Damn.
Look how quick we just turned on our guy.
It was 125 mil. 125 mil.
Oh, okay. There you go. Thank you. Look, he's saving himself now.
Very good. Very good. Now, I think by the end of the year, we're going to see 200. That's my guess.
And are you saying that in Australian dollars or US dollars?
US, bro. 200 will be next month for us, so who cares?
Okay.
And when you're in Australia, do you think people look at the US dollar price of Bitcoin, or are you always checking it in Australian dollars?
So I focus on the US because I'm like, guys, they're the big dogs. We are cooked. And everyone else is like, oh my gosh, it's nearly $200,000. That's so good. I'm like, if I was in the US right now, it's only 100, bro. It's cheap.
Sats, what's the capital gains on Bitcoin right now in Australia? Just out of curiosity. I know in Malaysia, Miles was saying it's 0, but do you guys have it?
No, it's similar to the US, 30-40%. And it also changed depending on how long you've been holding Bitcoin. So if you bought it within 12 months and sold it within 12 months, it's like 50%. So you just get hit with that. And then if you hold it for more than 12 months, it drops down to like 30. And then that's usually the standard amount.
Nice. So, or not nice, but good to know. Miles, you said 140, or what did you say?
Yeah, I think 140 is my kind of low end target. Hopefully we like close the 140 would be my hopeful floor for the end of this run. I'm thinking that we go much higher and we have some like God candles going all the way up to 200. And then I don't know anyone who's wealthy. I only have like a few friends who have got like some actual money who are like older than me, like my parents' kind of age. And one of those guys messaged me like 3-4 weeks ago saying, hey, he's Bitcoin, he's in. And when I started talking to him, I realized, oh, he really understands Bitcoin for sure. You know, when you have that connection with someone and you're like, you think they're a boomer and then you realize actually they understand Bitcoin. But then he texted me a few weeks ago saying, how do I buy Bitcoin on a proper scale? I said, how much are you trying to buy? He said, I've been buying like £10,000 at a time, but I want to buy sort of 50,000, 60,000. I was like, okay, bro, like, all right, I don't know anyone like you that buys that kind of amount of Bitcoin. And that was when the price was at like $96,000. So I was like, all right, you're that in. He said, bro, I need to buy 50 grand, 60 grand at a time. I just said, you're going to have to get in touch with CoinDesk OTC. I don't know anything about that. So he was contacting me like I'm an expert. And I was like, dude, you must have so much coin. I didn't want to ask how much he had. But that made me feel like, okay, he's definitely got a lot of investments in the stock market and in property. And if he's putting that much into Bitcoin, how many other people are doing that as well? Thinking, flip, I need to get on this now and get like 50 grand, 100 grand. He's thinking, I want to buy whole Bitcoins is what he's thinking. He's got that mindset. He wants to get to some figure he's got where he thinks, I want to have like 5 or 10 or 20. And he's like, I'm not going to get there buying £10,000 at a time. And he's just going all in, really. And that made me feel super bullish and think, wow, I'm just like dollar cost averaging like a small amount, and these people who are boomers who have got property that they just bought for £2.50 and now their properties are worth £2.5 million, they're just buying it up. And when more people start realizing that, that's where I think the price starts going to 200, and then the floor is around where we are now, between 100 and 140.
That is amazing. And I guess the question is, do you think that guy and people like him that are going to be piling in when retail, eventually starts piling into Bitcoin again in this cycle? Do you think that these guys are going to hold now, or do you think that they're going to, sell it when it inevitably crashes? Because it always does.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, that same guy, I don't want to start out like I know loads of super wealthy people. Just know this only guy who I didn't realize was quite as wealthy as he sounds. I thought he had like a bit of cash, but it sounds like he's a lot wealthier than I thought. But I texted him when the price hit 100 and said, do you ever think about taking a bit of profit at this stage? Because obviously I'm traveling with my family and I'm going to have to take some profit towards the end of this year, because like I either need to get a job or take some profit. And I was saying, is now a good time to take a little bit of profit? He was then coaching me saying, no, man, this is for your family. This is for the future. Hold till 2035. And I was then being schooled by him. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm not thinking about selling it all. I just need like a little bit of money to pay for the next couple of months, And, but he was like, he was just, because I guess he's obviously got enough money coming in the whole time to cover all of his overheads and live like a luxe life. So he doesn't care. But he was just saying, no, man, hold till 2035. Don't sell anything. So he's not viewing it as like, I'm going to hold this and see if it runs up to 140. He's like, I'm holding this just like I have no intention of selling. Hassle to him to sell, because then he has real tax problems, I imagine.
Wow. If he ever gets a YouTube channel, he could be Boomer High.
Yeah.
Gen Z, what's your price target?
For the end of the year, I'm gonna say like 500, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's low ball. It sounds literally
500,000 peak.
Yeah, maybe like November, something like that. Again, that's literally low ball. That's me being extremely low ball with the price. And if you were to go back to the start of COVID and say that, hey, this is going to 69,000 while the price was 6,000, 7,000, they literally think you were an idiot. So, I mean, that actually happened in real life, you know, and from 2020 to 2021, it basically did a 10x. So, obviously, I don't think it'll do a 10x necessarily, but I think 5x is just makes sense. And that's literally low compared to what the news is coming out every single day. All these different companies capitalizing on it, the sentiment shift, you know, the legitimization of it, the amount of people who DCA every day, the amount of people like that, you know, who are old and want to keep their money, right? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how old you are, you still want to keep your money. And it's just rational, you know, the amount of people who are finding that Bitcoin's rational. I do think at some point in our life, there will be a suddenly moment. I don't know exactly when that'll happen, but I feel like we're getting closer every single day. So I say 500. And again, that is low. That is very low, my opinion.
I hope you're right, man. I really do. Ralph, I want to hear your estimate too. But before I do, can you also tell me if you think that this cycle is going to stop following the normal cycle trend? Do you think that we're still in it and that we're going to see a big crash? Or do you think that the crashes are going to be mitigated and it's going to start going up more, let's say, the way that the S&P 500 has continuously gone up over the past, several decades?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know, I can't see the future, but I feel like we're still gonna have like 4-year cycles, but it's not gonna be as like, the drops are not gonna be as vigorous as they used to be back, in the days before the institutions came in. Like the guys like BlackRock, the MicroStrategies, they're basically raising the floor. So I think we're probably gonna crash, to 100,000, and that's gonna be the new headline, and then you know, and then we're gonna go up and then crash to 500,000 and then go up again and then crash to 800,000. So I think it's gonna be like I think we're gonna just continue to go up, and the drops are gonna be like maybe 30-20%, just like the drop during the tariffs. Basically, it's not gonna be as bad as like 80% anymore. And
Do you think? Sorry, I was
go
just
no,
gonna
go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, do you think that when it crashes to 800,000, like you said, people are gonna still be comparing Bitcoin to teeth?
Oh, of course, of course. Oh, it's a bubble. It's tulips. Of course they're gonna complain. I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like people are still gonna like, they're gonna find a reason to hate on it. I mean, until this day, there are people complaining about the internet. It's like, I don't know. There's always gonna be somebody out there that's gonna complain about Bitcoin until, I don't know, everybody. I feel like it's gonna take a while until maybe Bitcoin is at $100,000, where each stat is $1. Maybe that's when everything is normalized, where people are like, oh, this is just the normal thing now. This is just the currency that we all using. Maybe that's when people will stop, doubting it. But until then, who knows, man? Who knows? And as far as price target, I'm with Gen Z on this one. I think 500 is that's like, I think that's very, I was gonna say Josh Mendel's prediction, the 444 minimum for sure. I think this year we can get there, especially if we see all the flows, like with all the like all the liquidity coming in soon, the ETFs, all the companies buying, my strategy, Meta Planet, all these guys. I mean, it's hard to just say 120. Sorry, Josh. I'm just like, nah, man, no way. That's the
I
top.
said 120 million, just to be clear.
Oh,
I'm
that's
not
more
a
like
bear.
it.
All right. I'm not a bear. I just said the first number that came to my mind, but
Nah, I feel you, man.
we'll go 444K by
All
the end of the year. That sounds good to me.
Question. I'm gonna say 420 just because I think it would be funny. And life feels like the Matrix right now. Another question for you guys. I don't know if you all saw, but Jamie Dimon, one of the big Bitcoin haters, kind of capitulated this week. Did you guys see this? Where he was saying that he was defending everybody's right to buy Bitcoin. He still wouldn't advise it, but he would actively defend your right to buy it. In the past, he said that he would fire anyone that traded it for stupidity. Now he's saying that he defends Bitcoin. My question is, who do you think is going to be the next big Bitcoin hater to capitulate?
I mean, I saw a great tweet. I don't remember exactly who it was from, but basically just said like, yeah, the CEO of Blockbuster didn't like Netflix either. Jamie Dimon's Blockbuster, like Bitcoin is coming for banks. We're not gonna have a need for banks, and his industry is going down, and he's just salty about it.
Yeah, and I'm happy about it. I think we all are.
Me too.
I think that's the same with Peter Schiff, though. Like, I think he knows Bitcoin is the next gold, essentially, but he just refuses to say it out loud because he has a vested interest. Like, he's selling gold, and like, I just think he knows. I don't think he's that much of an idiot. He's obviously a smart person. So,
Do you think he owns Bitcoin?
Maybe, but I think he's made enough wealth from gold. He might not need to. Like, it's on a need to know basis. But I think he might have a secret stash. Who knows? Maybe 10 Bitcoin or something locked up somewhere.
I'm convinced he's a big Bitcoin bag holder. I'm convinced.
Oh, really? You think he's already swapping?
It's my
He's
conspiracy
swapping.
theory.
That would be crazy.
For sure. That's definitely true. He definitely has a lot, bro. And like, it's because like there are interviews where like he understands Bitcoin very well. Like he understands it very well. And he like kind of plays dumb almost. I don't know what's happening, but I swear to you, there are interviews. I don't know if he's talking to Natalie Brunell, like way back in the day or whatever it is, where he's like explaining Bitcoin perfectly and he knows how it works and what it is. But now he's like engagement farming, because when you think about it, when you get popular enough, when you get famous, you can make an infinite amount of money off the internet, right? So he has the ability to make an infinite amount of money by trolling Bitcoin. So by pretending like he doesn't know what it is, whenever there's a red day, whenever there's any bad news, he can just go ahead and he can say bad things about Bitcoin, engagement farm. He gets paid from that. He gets paid on X. He gets paid on, I'm pretty sure he has a YouTube channel. Either way, he gets infinite amount of money from that, right? And then on top of that, every now and then, he might praise Bitcoin. He might say something good about it, whatever. And then what all the Bitcoiners do, we all dunk on him. We either say, oh, look at this guy, he's bending the knee. Or we're saying, oh my gosh, we're living in the Matrix. Look, he just said a positive thing about Bitcoin. Either way, he makes money by doing that, right? So he's getting paid to talk about Bitcoin regardless. And then he probably buys Bitcoin with that, you know? So again, this guy, he's not a total idiot. I do truly believe he has a lot of Bitcoin. Like a lot.
I watched his debate with Jack Mollers like ages ago, and like anytime Jack Mollers destroyed him, I could just see a cheeky smirk of being like, this kid's smart, like he knows what he's talking about. And I'm like, just team up already, like let's send this thing to the moon, bro. Like get out of gold. I'm sick of it. Oh,
Also,
I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like he kind of knows gold's time is up, so he's milking it while he still has time, and then secretly stacking sats. I don't know.
Also, what do you guys think about Berkshire?
I'm with
Buffett
you, man.
stepping
Can you
down.
guys hear me okay?
Oh, yeah. Yo, what do you guys think about Warren Buffett stepping down and what do you think are the chances of like Berkshire, somebody, the next CEO or somebody like that, using some of that $300 billion? I don't know how much they have, but like, what are the chances of them buying Bitcoin actually? Because that would be a huge
100%. They have to. It's just a matter of when. It has to be a matter of when. Like I think even him retiring is just, that is the next wave in. We're gonna see like Michael Saylor might be the next, you know. So we'll see what happens.
So yeah, I agree. I want the audience to hold me to this because I think this is a fact, and I could be getting a little bit of things wrong around the edges. But from what I understand, the majority of money that Berkshire Hathaway has made, like in terms of absolute dollar amount, was its investment in Apple when it invested in Apple a little bit before the iPhone. And if I remember my facts correctly, Warren Buffett was not even really a part of that deal. It was the people underneath him that understood that Apple was a really big opportunity, and they decided to invest in it in a way that Warren Buffett probably never would have, because Warren Buffett isn't really a technology investor in the first place. He's an absolutely incredible investor. He's been able to beat the market for 70 years in a row. You know, I'm not trying to take away anything that he has done, but he completely has missed technology opportunities, you know, in the past, we'll call it 20 years. And and it's been a big blind spot for him. So if those same people were able to see the foresight and buy Apple with it, I think it's inevitable that a lot of those same people are probably a lot more forward looking and a lot more in tune with technology, strictly because you have to today in order to make the returns that you want to make. And I think that they're going to buy a lot of Bitcoin with it, a lot.
Like, I totally agree. I'm with you, man. I'm with everybody on this. I think, though, it's almost like maybe Warren, God bless him, he might have to pass away before they feel like they can, because he's still going to be there. His voice is still going to be loud, and he's going to be coming to the office and reading those. Like, I don't know what he's going to do. Maybe he's a bit more unwell than we think. But I think that within Berkshire, there's got to be guys who are senior who own a little bit of Bitcoin in their own personal portfolio. And that is the beautiful thing about the number go up technology, is that those guys, even if they bought a couple $1,000s, when they got their bonus, huge bonuses last couple of years, let's just buy, they probably would have bought a tiny bit of Bitcoin. Statistically, there's got to be some of those people, and they'll see what Gen Z was saying is that tiny allocation they had in their own portfolios will be slowly taken up more and more and more. And eventually they'll just be thinking, man, imagine if we use some of Berkshire's, like some of our cash to buy this. I'd be one of the best managers in the world. So gradually, I think it's inevitable, man. Like eventually they got to see it. It might be a bit late, but at some point they're going to ape in.
Yeah, I always like to point to the fact, I mean, I completely agree, but since I started investing in Bitcoin in 2017, all I've been doing is dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. And I actually ran the numbers. I was thinking about making a video about this at some point. And I am a better investor than Warren Buffett has ever been in the last 7 years, strictly by dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. And which is kind of funny because, I mean, because I'm doing really well. So I find that funny, but yeah. I think anyone else can also be a better investor than Warren Buffett has ever been, strictly by investing in Bitcoin. And I think that a lot of the people under him managing Berkshire, exactly as you were saying, they're going to do it. They're going to invest.
And I think if Buffett was in his prime right now, I think he'd be a Bitcoiner, just based on like some of his talks. Like he definitely understands monetary debasement.
Yeah,
like
did you guys see the last thing that he said about money? Like, bro, he knows that money has no value. Like he knows. Like I feel like Warren would be the perfect Bitcoiner, but
yeah, and he
was benefiting from the system.
Yeah, he's just too close-minded at this point, I think, to understand Bitcoin or want to understand Bitcoin. But I think,
and he has the right to be. He's made what, $60 billion, something like that, made $100 billion. He's not gonna get poor not investing in Bitcoin. He'll be fine.
All right, so another cool thing that happened this week, we've gone over this before, but the last time when we actually went to the website, Amazon had passed back over Bitcoin. So now Bitcoin is officially, hopefully permanently, the 5th biggest asset, creeping up towards gold. Bitcoin's digital gold. We should be at the market cap of gold, but we're not. But we're still at number 5, which is pretty good and pretty cool to see.
We'll be number 2 by the end of the year. Like that's what I think is crazy. Like imagine seeing Bitcoin right under gold. It's going to be so satisfying. Like we destroyed silver, destroyed Google, destroyed Amazon. Next is Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, and then boom, gold's next, baby.
What price does Bitcoin have to do to become number 2?
Oh, it doesnn't even need a double. Like look at the market.
I think it's like 170 or something like that. 180 maybe.
Yeah.
I need to look it up, but
it's like a 60 some percent gain.
It's just so easy, bro. So easy.
Oh shit, we could really be number 2.
That's what I'm saying.
We'll have to have some sort of party for that. That is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys think we see gold start to drop in market cap as Bitcoin eats it up, or do we see gold run up with Bitcoin, but Bitcoin eats everything else first?
That is a really good question. I think, and I could be 100% wrong here, but I think Bitcoin is going to run up slower than Bitcoin for the next few years as more people begin to get familiarized with Bitcoin. I just don't think Bitcoin is at the level right now where people think it is as legitimate as gold. Gold has been around for thousands of years as a monetary tool. And I think that that is going to be hard to displace. I think Bitcoin is displacing it really, really, really quickly. But I think for right now, where we are having all of, this economic turmoil, economic chaos with the US and China and trade tariffs and devaluing the dollar and all of that stuff, I think gold is going to continue to be looked at as more of a safe haven. But the amount that it is going to diminish as a safe haven compared to Bitcoin until it eventually eclipses. You guys feel free to disagree with that. I'm curious.
And then I think I agree with you, but I also feel like we are like maybe like one news headline away from like gold being demonetized. Like if America's like, oh, you know what, we're gonna sell like some of our gold to buy some Bitcoin, I think that might be the other way around, where every other country is starting to do the same thing, and then maybe that's what's gonna send gold's price down and Bitcoin through the moon. So that's what I think, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Most likely all assets are going to run at the same time. So like the price of real estate is going to run up. The price of gold is going to run up. It's just that they're running slower, right? So Bitcoin is going to catch them eventually. But if we get like a massive liquidity injection, all these things are going to go up in value because the thing that they're denominated in is losing value, right? So everything goes up. But Bitcoin's just the fastest horse in the race, and that's why we hold it.
Yeah, and I always like revisiting this chart. Gold is that benchmark, but we also have $1,000 trillion of global wealth at this point. And just since 2023, there was $100 trillion added to the global wealth, which is just crazy. And yeah, that'll just continue to leak into Bitcoin. These assets will continue to be demonetized, and we're just going to keep seeing more liquidity that's able to flow into Bitcoin.
I had
Josh-
oh, sorry, Dan.
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I had like a hate comment on my YouTube videos, so I'm getting hate comments now, which I guess is a good thing. But the person's like, this guy's an idiot. Like, for Bitcoin to get to $100 million one day, it means there's going to be a $2 quadrillion market cap and whatever. But I was like, my response was just, do you know how much they're printing? And like, if that continues to increase, then we will eventually see asset classes grow to not just trillions, but quadrillions. And whether that happens in our lifetime or our next, like our kids' lifetime, that's irrelevant. The point is, like, there is no bottom to dollars and there's no top to Bitcoin. So like, if you can't give me the numbers of how much is in the system, how much they're going to print, then you can't say that's impossible.
Well said, man. Yeah, the dollars are going to keep on becoming less valuable. Nobody expected the Zimbabwe dollar to cost like $10 billion for a loaf of bread. So at one point, that might be the US dollar too.
I actually think that, I mean, this might be heretical to say in this kind of like Bitcoin only forum, but I don't hate gold as much as I hate a bunch of the other assets. I mean, I like gold much more than I like the dollar or the pound or any of those other things. So I think it's going to be a while before we get to gold, because I agree with what everyone else is saying, that I think gold will also potentially run up as well as Bitcoin runs up. So I think that it could be a while before we overtake gold, because what I don't get is this like Peter Schiff vibes where he's so anti-Bitcoin. Why would you not, if you understand gold as well as he does, and you're so into gold, why would you not think, okay, Bitcoin is like, say you think gold is way better than Bitcoin, you're Peter Schiff. Can't you possibly have a bit of a view where you think, okay, I could get some Bitcoin as well because I can see that it's got a lot of the properties that I like about gold. And I think there will be, all the people we're trying to orange pill into Bitcoin will not be quite as extreme as we are and put everything into Bitcoin, and will think, let's put some into gold and some into Bitcoin. So I think there will be a bit of a run up in both those things. But also, I was going to say, in terms of like monetary debasement, I was in Vietnam recently, and when we changed our money, one of my kids got on an absolute hype because my parents gave the kids some spending money, and they got like £10, £20, £10 from like grandparents and stuff. They changed £20 in British money, and they got over 1 million Vietnamese dong. And the guys are like at the counting are going 100, 200, 300, 400. My kids are like, oh my gosh, I've got so much money. And then we went home, me and my wife went back, and then we were just watching YouTube videos about inflation with currency, and we were just like blown away. We couldn't believe that the money would get to those kind of numbers. And it also just annoying, because when someone tells you how much you go out for dinner and it costs you like 1.6 million Vietnamese dong, and you're like looking at the money like, is that 100,000 or 1 million? It's so confusing. So I think actually what I didn't realize is I'm so insulated, because I've only come from a country where we've got £10, £20, £50, that I've hardly traveled at all in my life. And going to a place where there is there has been incredible inflation over the last 30 years makes you realize, damn, if these guys in Vietnam bought gold or Bitcoin, obviously we're saying Bitcoin, if Bitcoin was around then, they would be super rich by now, super, super rich, because their currency has been devalued over the last 30 years, but it's not been hyperinflation. It's just because they haven't noticed it over 30 years, going from like 1020s to hundreds and 50,000s. So yeah, I think also, especially when we're talking about developed nations that we're all living in, I think it's easy to imagine Bitcoin going to a quadrillion market cap, because we haven't seen any of the inflation that some of the developing nations have seen.
Have you guys looked at the price of Bitcoin in the Vietnamese dollar by any chance? Take a look at it real quick. I just want you guys to see that.
Yeah, Josh, can you bring that up?
Someone messaged me about this recently, saying, you're in Vietnam. Have you seen that?
Is it 69,420 million?
It's literally with $2.8 billion right now, I think.
Dom.
Is that billion? Yeah, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep.
Yeah, you have to count the commas.
Yeah, I know. I have to be like, wait, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's crazy.
Let's see.
That's an expensive Bitcoin.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, Sats, I think that just proves you're right.
Imagine when that's US. That's going to be insane.
Yep.
So do you guys think that, Josh, can you bring up the last chart? That was a really good chart, and I want to go back to it really quick.
Got you.
Do you guys think that the real thing that we should be measuring is Bitcoin's dominance in this chart? Like, it shouldn't be, is Bitcoin at 100,000, 110,000, 200,000? Should it be, what percentage of this number is Bitcoin? And that would be a more accurate representation of how well
the market
Bitcoin
cap.
is doing.
Definitely.
Yeah, market cap's more
Oh,
important
yeah, for
than
sure.
price, I would say.
Not market cap, but like dominance. As in like 1%, 2%,
Percentage-wise.
3%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But like, look into all these assets right here. Like, everything can be eaten by Bitcoin. It can be gold. Like, it can replace things like art and collectibles. It can be equities, real estate, bonds, money. It is everything. So I just love, like, it's just that magnet, what you were talking about, Josh, in one of your videos. It just like sucks in capital like a vacuum. And so it might skip gold for now. We'll see gold maybe go to 25 trillion, 30 trillion while Bitcoin climbs too. But all these other things, oh man, it is just going to destroy them.
Okay, another question for you all. Yes, I agree. Bitcoin is going to eat all of these other assets' lunches. I think we all agree on that. The question that I have is, which asset being devalued the most will help this society the most?
Real estate, bro. I can't afford a house in Australia.
Yeah, housing.
600K right now for a house. I only earn like 60K a year. As soon as like we have like rich Chinese investors come to Australia and they buy like 100 houses, and it prices people like me out of the market. And then imagine when they decide, I'm going to buy Bitcoin as a store of value instead of these houses, because they're obviously not living in any of these houses. That's going to bring housing costs down for me, create a deflationary effect, and I'll actually be able to afford a house again. Because like, it's impossible now over here. If you're a young person, you have to combine incomes with maybe a partner or something, both working jobs. You can't have your wife at home anymore. You have to they have to work as well. It's just cooked. And that would be an awesome benefit to see. Like, Bitcoin is so neutral. It just helps everyone. If you can hold that as a store of value and leave these other things alone, it just benefits everyone.
So you heard it here first, guys. You all need to invest in Bitcoin so Sats can afford a house.
Let's get it. Come on.
That's awesome. And Forrest just said something. You want to bring that up? I think that was really interesting. What's up, Forrest? Glad you're listening. We miss you. Congratulations. U.S. Treasury bonds defund war. That is another really, really amazing one. Anyone want to talk about that?
It makes my problem seem small, but someone else comment on
that. Man, maybe Gen Z can say as well, because I've heard him speak about this before, but this was new information for me when I read the Bitcoin Standard about, you know, when you learn about Bitcoin, I learn about finance through Bitcoin, basically, and economics through Bitcoin, or the little that I know. But the thought about, you know, our countries going to Afghanistan and Iraq, and like you're saying in your video, Dan, like, you know, expanding it into Iraq as an invasion and the war on terror.
Mm-hmm.
Can you, I mean, I was pretty, you know, when I'm known to remember seeing the Twin Towers come down and thinking, yeah, man, let's freaking go to Afghanistan and do these guys in. I was in on that. But then when we started expanding it into Iraq, I sort of remember thinking, like, we're going to all these places. I didn't think Iraq were actually involved. I thought we used to like. I thought we were kind of into Saddam Hussein. I thought we kind of sort of helped him out a bit, and he was a bro. But when you start expanding into those things, if there was a vote or a need to raise tax and say, okay, we're like going to Afghanistan and we're just like dropping bombs and killing people who tried to kill us, I was like, okay, cool. At the time, I thought, let's go. But when it started expanding into Iraq, if they said, okay, we need to raise your taxes because we're going to go to Iraq as well, I would have started thinking, actually, I'm kind of paying enough tax. If you guys want to go, you go for it. I can't stop you. You're the government. We voted for you. But don't use any of my money to go and do that. I think that is what Forrest potentially is saying on a Bitcoin Standard. They can't do that. They can't just print and print and print more money to then expand their wars into other places. But tell me if I've got the wrong end of the stick there. But I think that's the vibe we're going for.
I agree with you. I mean, as you said it, you know, I kind of made a video about the Iraq war, and very realistically, if the world had been on a Bitcoin standard, there is a good chance that the Iraq war would have never happened. That country would be a lot better off, and we as America would be a lot better off too, because we would have saved so many lives that, you know, unfortunately didn't make it back home from Iraq. So.
And I think we might still have wars because humans are gonna be humans, but I don't think wars are gonna last as long anymore because, you know, they won't have the. I mean, that's if we're going to full Bitcoin standard. You know, they won't be able to fund a 10-year war anymore. And
exactly.
I hope, yeah, exactly, yeah. So and honestly, I've said it before, man. I want the IMF gone. These people have done enough damage to the world, man. We need Bitcoin to take over.
It's sad because I think a lot of people that go to war think they're just fighting for the country. Like, it's posed as such a heroic thing, and as it should be, I guess. But it's sad that they're going on a printed dollar. Like, they're getting so much funding out of thin air. Like, this is not a movement by the US or Australia that's going, we will get funds from people. People will sell their gold, hand it in, and fund this war. It is just printed out of thin air. And the fact that they're going to war to defend the money printer, it kind of just makes it sad in my eyes. Like I know people like that, and it's like, do you actually know what you're fighting for? Because I wouldn't know, and hence I didn't put my hand up for the army. So yeah, it will switch the dynamic. I think you'll learn to what's worth fighting for, and it's not the money printer.
And like you said, if it's something where you have to consent to being taxed more, like, the citizens are really gonna think about that and contemplate if they want to spend their hard-earned money on a war. But when it's just permissionless, right, and they can just go like, oh, you guys go have fun, like, that just completely changes the dynamic.
Yeah, it'll literally make the world a better place. I when I talk about why I invest in Bitcoin, I talk about it for two reasons, and it's really a 50-50. One, 50% of the reason, I want to be rich, right? Bitcoin is putting me on that trajectory. Like, I am way wealthier now because of Bitcoin than I would have been without it. So I like being rich. But two, I genuinely think that Bitcoin is making the world a better place. Bitcoin is making the world a place that I would want to raise a kid in and that I would want to bring children into. Without Bitcoin, you know, I think it's a lot of trouble for a lot of people.
It's just morally sound money. Like, you can invest in Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin without feeling guilty. Whereas if you store the fiat dollar or you borrow against your house and buy more and more houses, it just feeds into this huge problem. It's nothing against people that do that. Like, they're taking advantage of the system, like, respect. But I just think it creates more and more problems as we feed the machine. I think Bitcoin steps out and goes, we're actually going to leave the old system, start a new system, and you don't have to be guilty by getting rich. Just hold and save in Bitcoin. That's all you have to do. It's neutral. You don't have to be red. You don't have to be blue. You don't have to be, all these things. Anyone can hold it. Everyone benefits, and you don't have to worry that it's sending people to war. You don't have to worry that it's potentially tied up in some pretty nasty things. It's literally just neutral. So I think it's awesome. It's morally sound money, guys.
And also, it feels like without Bitcoin, like it almost feels like you have to like kind of become a scammer or kind of take advantage of people just to make an extra buck. But like with Bitcoin, now you're like, oh, okay, I can relax. I can just save my money and know that it's not gonna be devalued. You become a better person. It makes life kind of like you have hope. Like I think Josh, you made a video this morning. That was excellent, man. I love that video, man. That was great. And I think Forrest also made a video this morning about how Bitcoin made him have a baby too. And I'm like, this is beautiful, man. This is exactly what it's about, like having hope for the future. So, so I love it, man.
I was just going to add to that. Oh, you
that's
go,
why we're all
Josh.
here.
I've said.
Yeah. Like we're all here to spread Bitcoin education, and like you said with the scammers, like we're not crypto influencers out here like pumping a tiny coin. Like we're talking about a $2 trillion asset. We don't have the power to pump that ourselves. So I think that it's just a testament to, all these people here and in the community that just want to spread the message because it's money for everyone.
Love the way you said that, Josh.
I had one of my mates on Sunday. He's like, the only reason that you're making these Bitcoin videos is to pump your own bags. And I'm like, it's a $2 trillion market, bro. Like, I'm sorry, if you invest $100, no one is going to see that. Like, people are buying 10,000 Bitcoin at one time, or like Miles' friends, he's just dropping bands. So I'm like, oh, people think I've got this pyramid scheme going on, but it's not.
And when I first started dating my girlfriend, I was like, just put $100 in Bitcoin. I'll pay if it goes to zero, I'll pay you $100. And I feel like that's kind of what orange pilled her a little bit, just like the confidence of that.
My best mate, one of my best mates, he did that thing with his girlfriend, but it was tied up in altcoins and crypto, and it was like 10 grand. And he's like, if this is negative by the end of the year, I'll pay you 10 grand. It was cooked. It was like 2 or 3 grand by the end of the year. And I was like, why would you promise her that? If you just bought Bitcoin, you'd be fine. Like, it'd be like a 2-3x at that stage. So funny.
Love it. Wow. So, I mean, congratulations to all of us for sticking through to new all-time highs. We'll probably see another all-time high tomorrow. What's it at right now as we close it off? I have a hard cap at 9:00, but.
Oh.
Is it all right if we watch like a 2-minute video before we leave as we wrap up?
Yeah, of course. Put it on.
I don't know, Josh, chuck it on just because it's a little cheeky motivation.
Yeah.
BTC Moon guys says
the
it's at
great
110.
collapse. Everyone's waiting for zombies, apocalypse in the street, for everyone to walk outside and buildings to be on fire. That's when Bitcoin is going to succeed. That's when the dollar is going to fail. That's when America is going to go through significant changes and a significant decline. And they're like, I'll wait for the dollar to fail. Buddy, the dollar's not failing, quote unquote. It's happening right in front of you. What if I told you Bitcoin was going to be over 100,000 5 to 10 years ago per Bitcoin.
Well, what's the value of one Bitcoin?
I mean, I think right now, one Bitcoin, $110.
You would have thought, you're crazy. There's no way. If Bitcoin's over 100,000, the dollar's dead. Buildings are on fire. There's zombies in the streets. Bitcoin's 100,000. I'm here in Chicago. The sun's up. I went for a walk today. I went to Whole Foods yesterday with my girlfriend. What if I would have told you guys since 2010, there's been over 1 million Americans dead from drug overdose?
We have had more overdose deaths in 1 year than we did of COVID deaths.
What if I would have told you that America has the biggest obesity problem in the world?
The number of obese Americans is now around 40%.
Half of America is fat. What if I told you gold, $3,500, all-time high after all-time high after all-time high, central banks piling into gold, the US talking about auditing Fort Knox?
President Trump and Elon Musk have cast doubt on whether the U.S. gold reserves stored at Fort Knox still exist.
If I would have told you all of these things 20, 30 years ago, you would have said, no way. No way the American people would stand for this. There'd be civil unrest. There'd be an uproar. There'd be a civil war. Everyone seems to be thinking this is normal. There's never going to be an apocalypse. There's never going to be buildings on fire. There's never going to be the great collapse. It's all just part of the process. One day you'll blink and Bitcoin will be 1 million. Just trying to say, it's not going to be like no one's going to fly a banner through the sky and say, the world is changing. Buy neutral reserve assets. Take care of your health. Think for yourself. No, it's not going to happen. One day you're going to realize it was all happening one day at a time. Think for yourself. Take care of your body. Eat a clean diet. Work hard. Love people. Do favors. Hold money that no one else can print.
I
love
that
this.
comment, Forrest. Cheeky boy.
Amazing.
Cheeky boy.
This is why Jack is the GOAT. All right. I put him above Michael Saylor on the all-time GOAT list.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I put Andreas Antonopoulos as my number one, but yeah.
We're at 110K. What do you know?
How good is that video, though? Oh, gives me goosebumps, bro.
Yeah, that was great.
I just love, like, Bitcoin was $100, then $1,000, then $10,000. It's now $110,000. Next milestone is like 1 million, and that is less than 5 years away, in my opinion. Like, you gotta be, who is not in Bitcoin at this point? Get on now.
All right, we got anything else, or just we're above the hour mark here?
I'm cooked, so I'm happy to wrap up.
Yeah, I say it's all good. I say it was a great episode. Thank you guys for watching. As always, it was a little bit different format this time, but until our guy Bitcoin Not Crypto comes back, we'll be doing it this way. So, cheers, and here's to the all-time high show. How cool is that?
Let's get it.
It was my first time hosting, so apologize if it was a little disorganized, but we got there.
Nah, man, it went well.
All right. Well,
Great job.
I'll see you guys on the next one. Stack stats or die trying.
See you
See
guys.
next time.